What is going down, Sourdough Squad? How are we doing today on this beautiful Tuesday? Clearly, the off season is getting spicy. It's getting hot. Hell, I'm running a little bit late because I had to double check what Ryan Clark was talking about there on ESPN Live, on NFL Live on ESPN. So, like, right as I'm getting on here, Ryan Clark, he's a famous Jimmy Garoppolo non-supporter. If you go back to the 2019 year, he was a big part of the reason why that we referred to ourselves as the Pretenders. He just went on NFL Live and said the 49ers should trade both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance to the Packers. It's peak off season, guys. I hope you guys are having a great time. There's going to be something to talk about, and if not, we're just going to make something up to talk about it at this point. So that's kind of where we're at into the off season. Clearly, today's episode. I want to be a little bit more interactive with you guys. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them at me. I will answer them. So I am going to let you guys kind of drive the show a little bit today. Definitely big interactive. So if you guys have any comments, questions, things that you guys want to talk about, feel free to drop it in the chat, and you could actually steer this show in the right direction, sometimes even the wrong. You guys know how I do. You give me a juicy topic, I'll talk about it for 20 minutes straight. But let's talk about some of the things, first of all, that are floating around this offseason. Clearly, quarterbacks is going to be number one. It's pretty much what we started to talk about. But my goodness. Not only with just this team, and we'll get into more details about this team. Let's talk about Kyler Murray for a little bit, huh? D says no, please no. No quarterback talk today. We're gonna have to, man. It is what it is. It's part of the process at this point. But smash that like button if you can for me. Let's get this thing going. Let's talk about Kyler quickly. We won't spend a ton of time on it. Yes, this I think you'll enjoy this. Let's roast Kyler a little bit. Because again, we all understand this all started. The only reason, and a shout out to Kyler Murray's marketing executives on his team. The only reason we're talking about Kyler Murray today is because Kyler Murray changed his Instagram. And if you've been living under a rock as of late, if you change your Instagram dramatically in 2022, a lot of questions are going to be asked, especially if it's done in a very specific way, because we understand the type of people who ingest that content, what they're looking for, and their expectations are. So if you change that and you divert from that, well, guess what? People are going to come knocking on your door asking you why. And that's where this all stems from. Kyler opened the door to allow people to come in and go, "Hey, knock, knock, knock. Why did you change why did you change this? Like, what?" No one was talking about the Rams playoff game against the Cardinals. No one cared. Everyone was off that. No one. We're like, oh, the Super Bowl. We're talking about Super Bowl storylines. We're talking about other things. If Kyler doesn't change his Instagram, we are not talking about Kyler today. 2 days removed from the Super Bowl. But however, when you make moves like that, whether you want more eyes on your brand or you're sending a very specific message, both things can be true. But you got to be crystal clear with the smoke that follows when you go and do something like that. And when you change your Instagram, like I said, you invite questions. You invite people poking around to say, is there something else? And guess what? That's what they found. They found that there's in fact something going on behind the scenes. So with that being said, we got Malaysia checking in. Let's go. Shout out Sourdough Squad. Um, so with that whole situation, now what's good, my boys and girls. But essentially, what we got going on right now is a situation now where they've kind of peeled back the curtain, and it does appear Kyler's at least now the perception is building that Kyler can be a problem. So again, if this was a marketing tactic and that really what it was, it's terrible. Like it's not working. It's completely backfiring to the point now where the public who actually held Kyler in a pretty high regard. Again, he's a multiple Pro Bowler, former first overall pick. You know the baseball, the football, all of it. He was held up in high regard. He was. But if you look across social media today, after he had to put out a response and all that stuff, it is going in the wrong direction. If essentially you're not buying Kyler Murray stonks today. If you're looking at Kyler Murray stonks, it's kind of like that big Bitcoin crash. If you're familiar with that, when Bitcoin was at that all-time high, you're like, oh, looking good, looking good, looking good, and then stonks went straight down. So, and now what his marketing team is going to have to do is to get him positioned in a way to not look like a crybaby, because now that's what's coming out. Now, because of the Instagram change, we have now been alerted to Kyler actually held himself out from going back into a game. Not just a game, a playoff game. So now, when you heard the rumors from Chris Mortensen talking about Kyler Murray being a immature, not being a leader, those things like that, you again, unnamed source. Oh, whatever. Like again, unnamed sources, whatever. Doesn't matter. Like you can literally shove off an unnamed source. But now they're bringing out video. Now they're showing Kyler Murray like withhold himself from going into a playoff game because he was grumpy and he was upset with the outcome. So he just decided he's not going back in. That is, we all know this. This is now all public knowledge now because he changed because he changed his Instagram. So again, if that is a marketing strategy and there are people, they sat around a table, they held not one, but probably multiple meetings about the change of his Instagram and about what are we trying, what's our goal here? Is our goal to send a message to the organization? Is our goal to create positive hype for our client? What do we just want people to know his name? Again, I don't he's a former number one overall pick. Uh so I don't know why people would need to know his name, especially outside of his direct fan base. But hey, again, people had to come together. I would hope to make that change to his page. If he did that himself, then I think he's getting exactly. I think that's what's going on. Like no one, if that's what it's the situation, then there's a lot of stuff coming from it. But overall, what it is turning into is now we throw Kyler Murray's hat into the mix of potential quarterbacks to be moved. Now, we can talk back and forth about the now storylines um that are coming from other camps talking about Kyler. Yeah, they don't paint him in a good picture. The marketing campaign has failed dramatically. But now, what the bigger question is, does that mean Kyler Murray will get moved? Does he now become a potential target for a trade? Um, and I think Bleacher Report betting put out today that Kyler Murray is like negative 1,400 to be the starting quarterback for the Cardinals next year. So again, all things considered, it's not looking great. Oh boy, it is not looking great for Kyler right now, and I don't imagine it's going to get any better. So multiple reasons we're talking about it. He's in division. 2, we're worried about the landscape, the supply and demand model for the quarterbacks. So, is that now mean there's another potential quarterback available that could actually hurt Jimmy Garoppolo's value? Because when we were talking about the situation, uh, about the reports coming from Washington yesterday about Jimmy Garoppolo potentially getting the number 11th overall pick from Washington, that started up the conversation about the whole supply and demand situation, why his value is like that, and all that good stuff. And to kind of piggyback onto the supply and demand conversation, this is from why am I blanking on his name? He's Peter King. Peter King, legendary journalist. He put this out today on the MMQB. He said essentially, quote, in fact, if for the sake of argument, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson stay put, that is great news for the 49ers because it would mean, in my opinion, the floor of a trade would be a first round pick. So this is coming from Peter King. He put this out earlier this morning. And again, the supply and demand model. That's I think we've talked about what we think Jimmy Garoppolo is worth in the sense of like talent wise, but that's just one level of it. The other level is supply and demand. Who needs a quarterback? Who needs a starting quarterback? And who actually wants to make a trip to the playoffs? And that's where Peter King is starting to again talk about the supply and demand model, because if Aaron Rodgers in fact stays with the Packers, plays out his contract, he's got 1 year left on it. That means you take his name off the top of the potential trade targets for quarterbacks. If Russell Wilson stays put, again, huge name. And then if those two names come off the list, we talked about Deshaun Watson. We don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. He's probably not going to get traded anytime soon. Then this is where Peter King says the floor of a trade for Jimmy Garoppolo would be a first round pick. That's crazy. And Peter King goes on to say, and maybe the sweet spot would be to Pittsburgh at 20 or maybe even Washington at number 11. Peter King goes on to say this. I can tell you I had a good talk last week with the Commanders coach, Ron Rivera, at the Super Bowl. They're going to do something at quarterback. They don't know what yet, but they're going to do something at quarterback. Carolina is also going to do something at quarterback. So again, we're in the economics portion of the offseason. And so we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about, is that true? Should Jimmy Garoppolo be considered a 1? Right now, we got Peter King, who's more tapped in than anyone else in the industry from a journalistic standpoint, saying he's talked with head coaches, he's talked with league sources. The floor for Jimmy right now could be a 1. So, again, you tie in the Kyler situation. If Kyler becomes an available quarterback, actually is to hit that's going to actually hit Jimmy's value a little bit, just because again, supply and demand, you add another quarterback to the mix. Again, Kyler Murray, now he might not be the leader clearly that Jimmy Garoppolo is, but I think we can all understand he has the skills, the tools available to do so. So interesting. Again, the Kyler Murray thing might not seem relevant to the 49ers fans. But again, it becomes relevant if he indeed enters the trade conversation, because then there becomes a quarterback who I think from at least a perception standpoint, and probably you got the age, the ceiling, Kyler's probably going to be considered a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. So then again, the 49ers and Jimmy then take a hit A little bit. We'll see. But again, it's just something to monitor. The quarterback situation is going to be an ongoing moving target. We also had reports today come out and say that the Philadelphia Eagles might take a big swing, specifically naming Jimmy Garoppolo per a couple reports. So there are teams that are targeting Jimmy Garoppolo. And we're already seeing this quiet buzz around Jimmy Garoppolo pick up. And again, connect the dots. We got to put this on a linear timeline. The morning of the Super Bowl, NFL Network, Mike Garoppolo talking about Jimmy could get traded before his trade, no trade clause is up at the beginning of the new league year in about a month. Saying that won't stop anything from getting done. Okay. Interesting that you had, like, if he's speaking to fans, honestly, do we care? Like, do we really care? Like, Jimmy could get traded now or in the next month. Like, I think fan base, like, if you're looking at it through a fan lens, you only care about if he's getting traded or not, and we know he is. So then you look at it from a different perspective. Okay, why is it important to explain that Jimmy Garoppolo can be moved before his no trade clause is waived? Essentially, business is open. That's how I'm taking it. Business is open. Then you're getting the Washington report the day later, setting the perception and the kind of talking narrative point of Jimmy Garoppolo's base value. First round. Then you got piggybacking day 2. You've got national media reporter and journalist Mr. King saying this stuff about people he spoke to. And he's saying he's setting the floor for a trade at a first round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. So how I'm seeing this is this feels like, we understand there are team representatives, there are player representatives, that they're different. They're divided. They are not one and the same. So I just think what we're kind of seeing is we are starting to see the preliminary heat up for a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. Clearly, it's something that we've known is going to happen. Clearly, the league knows it's going to happen. So what it feels like right now that is going on, it feels like they're working. They're working behind the scenes. So I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised any day, any week, we get a notification, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, breaking, the San Francisco 49ers have traded Jimmy Garoppolo to X team. Based on how I'm seeing this entire situation, it feels like they are progressing and moving in the right direction. And when we start to see value being floated in the media, it's kind of like hey, are you going to pay this, or is this team going to pay this? Like, it's kind of like a calling your bluff, if you will, like, kind of narrative, it feels like to me. So to me, what I see this as is they are working on a trade right now behind the scenes, trying to get the baseline value ironed out. Again, testing the media, testing fan bases. Would you trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a first round pick? Washington Commanders fan base. Hey, Philadelphia, would you trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? How would you feel if we moved off Jalen Hurts? So a part of it is a little bit of just kind of like looking, like feeling it, trying to get a baseline feel for everything that's going on within a fan base. And so I'm just saying, I think there's a world exists right now where things are starting to heat up. Things are starting to heat up for sure. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what goes down. Justin had this one earlier. Let me get to it before I miss it. Stick with Hasty as the pass catching back, or draft a running back with a skill set, or sign someone like JD McKissick in free agency. JD McKissick was really nice. He was very productive for Washington. However, JD McKissick was very productive for Washington, but he was impactful as a third down back, as a guy who's going to catch and be a receiver out of the backfield. Now, I'm very interested to see what the addition of Anthony Lynn does, because from my understanding and what I've seen over the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan over his time, he doesn't historically target running backs out of the backfield. So it's not like something he tries to do. It doesn't really even feel like part of, a scheme priority, even as a dump off. Like, I think even rarely we see situations where Kyle would have a designed dump off. I mean, I think we see Juice in the flat, we see Hasty in the flat time to time, but they never target them and they never really go there. So although I like the idea of JD McKissick and what he brings to the table, I just I I see a model that exists where you draft late or you take undrafted free agent flyers. Um there's some I have no problem sticking with Hasty. Like, he's on the roster, he's cheap. He's not going to go anywhere unless the 49ers cut him. But I think you're going to be able to same situation. Same situation with Elijah Mitchell. Just wait. Wait till the 6th, 5th if you really want to. You'll Kyle Shanahan will be able to find a scheme fit at running back late. It's like clockwork. It's like clockwork. And again, I think people are kind of persuaded away from smaller, shiftier zone runners, whereas that's exactly kind of what you're looking for in an outside zone scheme. You just want people that have great vision, great cutting ability, and can get north and south once they see the hole and they hit it. So you can find that late. I like the question though. Good question. Good conversation about running backs. And I think I think I saw someone. So Steph makes a good point. Didn't they draft Trey Sermon to be the receiving threat at running back? I mean, he looked good as a receiver at training camp. But one of the things that I had to remind myself after going through my first training camp of evaluation is a reminder: running backs don't get hit. There's no contact. So, to be honest, running backs always kind of look good in training camp because they don't get hit. They don't get touched. It's two hand. So it's real. And when we look at Elijah Mitchell, what made Elijah Mitchell so special? His power, his ability to break tackles, his ability to churn out yards. There's no way that you can decipher that at training camp because they don't hit, they don't tackle. So that was one of the developments with Elijah Mitchell, but Trey Sermon too at training camp, he looked nice out of the backfield. I didn't mind him as a receiving back. I thought he actually was going to have some promise as a receiving back coming out of the backfield. But, like I said, I don't see a world that exists where the 49ers actually have that as a part of their scheme. Now, not saying that it doesn't exist, because I think it exists. But how many times do we see Jimmy just check it down to a running back? Like, how many times do we see a 49ers quarterback just go, like, look through their read and go, oh, it's not open, let me just check it down to the running back or to Juice or to – I don't personally see that being something that they do a lot, but it is something that Anthony Lynn did a lot. If you go back and look at his running backs under his time, they catch the football out of the backfield. So that is going to be something that I'm very intrigued by. Again, Mike McDaniel not there. He was a huge part of the run game and the design of the run game and the passing game, blocking schemes, all of it. Now I'm really excited to see what that turns into. I posed the question today to some of my followers, and I'll post it to you guys in the chat. Raheem Mostert, are the 49ers going to bring him back, or should they bring him back? And exactly, Justin, back to kind of what you were talking about. I've been looking at the PFF board too. They have multiple running backs down there with Batty that I like. So again, if you want to, and I think they should, well, it's like, why not keep adding more backs? We don't know if Jeff Wilson's going to return. We don't know. We don't know what's going on with Mostert. So if you can just wait, take some back end prospects that probably aren't going to unseat Mitchell, unseat potentially Mostert, then just grab some guys in the back end and see what they become, because we've seen it time. Arian Foster's an undrafted free agent. Arian Foster was one of the best running backs in the NFL. Mostert at one point was getting to, like, if he could put together a full season, Mostert would be talked about in that realm. But, he's just hurt. So back to the Mostert situation. Would you want to bring Mostert back? And when I'm saying bring him back, we're not saying a 3-year, $30 million contract, nothing like that. It would be a 1-year, most likely prove it, incentive based, based on, incentivizers based on, games played, snaps played, usage, things like that, where he can, if he hits milestones, then that makes the deal worth more. And then no one cares, right? No one cares. Because if he's playing and he's hitting his milestones and he's getting rewarded, well, I guarantee you the 49ers are getting rewarded in return. So I envision a world where a 1-year, not like a baseline minimum. I think he deserves more than that. I don't know what the going rate is for running backs, but something somewhat respectable with incentivizers built in. Would you bring Raheem Mostert back under those circumstances and pair Raheem Mostert with Elijah Mitchell in that scenario? I think that would be deadly. I think that would be deadly. All right, let me see what the chat's saying. What are we saying on Mostert? Yes, on Mostert. Paul says Mostert and Mitchell would be a crazy 1-2 punch. Wanda's saying Mostert is needed. If Heem is gone, we for sure draft the running back. Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Either draft the running back or potentially add one in free agency. I don't know. Again, I don't think Kyle's a big rookie guy. I don't think he is. So if he wants impact, I feel like he will go to a veteran much sooner than he would go to a rookie, especially at running back. So now, and I get it. We had a rookie running back start pretty much the whole year. So we had no other choice. We had no other choice. And then to the point where Elijah earned it. He absolutely earned it. Stefan says, I bet Miami spends on Mostert, making it hard for us to get him. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if Miami does. I get the Mike McDaniels is there, but they have some good backs. Like Myles Gaskins, I think, is quietly underrated. I think Salvin Ahmed is quietly underrated. 49er legend. He was with the 49ers in training camp, I believe, in 2020. And he's proven to have some giddy up and go. So, I don't know. Maybe, if Mike McDaniel clearly identify what Raheem Mostert brings to the table, He's a great veteran, great leader. He had the captain. He was the captain this year, and he went through the entire season as a captain. He led the running backs. He broke them down before every game. You know, Mostert did his thing this year quietly behind the scenes. Um, so that could be a benefit for Miami. Could happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen. But again, they have quietly have some good running backs, I believe, on the roster. So oh, my guy says, can we pick up guys without torn ligaments? No. No. But also just to be real on that really quickly, football is 100% guaranteed injury sport. And that's why we're talking running backs. I think that's why running backs have kind of become like a polarizing option, is because when you have a good running back and a good running game, your team's probably good. But you also can see how quickly things can change if said running back gets hurt. So it's such a physically demanding position that people don't want to pay for it anymore. And it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. But it is what it is, man. There's nothing you can do about it. I understand it. I understand it from the other side. It is a physically demanding situation. It is. So do you want to invest a lot of money into those types of players? Or do you get creative with the position, use a committee, wink, wink, Kyle Shanahan, what he does, he uses a committee anyways. And then you're not only keeping your guys fresh, but you have this just rotation of different elements coming at you that can still be able to execute the offense and what you're trying to get away with. So it does look like, according to the chat seems okay with it. Chat seems okay with it, right? Chat seems okay with keeping Mostert. Ooh, I like this. Mr. Outside and Mr. Inside. Ooh. I like that. No, I think that there's some merit to that. I think Mitchell, I'll say this. I would say Mitchell's probably a better inside runner. More so than Mostert. I would say that. I would give that to him. I think Mitchell is way more physical than people even give him credit for. And what he started to do at the end of the year, the way he was starting to read his blocks, find the holes, and hit it inside. Oh yeah, 100%. I give it to him. But Mr. Outside, I don't think there's anyone in the league, outside of like peak, Le'Veon Bell, like that kind of guy. And now I'm speaking of the memory of Raheem Mostert. Again, a year removed from football. What is it going to be like? I don't know. I'm speaking about 2019 Mostert, right? 2019 Mostert, he was up there with what he was able to do as an outside zone runner. Beautiful. Beautiful. Frank Gore to mentor Mitchell. That would be nice. Oh, Wally needs a hat. I got you, fam. Boom. Need a hat. I got you. I also should have a live unboxing too coming from Residency. They got me some new gear. Also, with said new gear, when we do the unboxing, we're also going to be doing a live giveaway. So you want me to, like, I'm finally coming around to it. I said I would do it. Took me a while. But like I said, I'm going to give away some of these hats. So we're actually going to do a live giveaway right after the unboxing. So if you do want a chance to win a Residency hat, I think I'm going to be giving away 2 hats. 2 hats. I got one of them here. So we're going to be giving away the Mission giving away the mission, and then we're going to be giving away, I think, whatever else they give me in that box. And shout out Residency, man. They just shout. They send me gear. They keep your boy dripped up. So I figure I got so many hats. Like it's kind of ridiculous at this point. I can't even. I have so many hats. So I'm gonna start giving to you guys. So that should be coming up this week. And so keep an eye out for that. We'll be doing it in the chat. It'll be a live giveaway in the chat. Be prepared. And it's going to be random. So if anyone has a chance to win. Sorry, Mod Squad. Mod Squad's like, wait, we want a Mod Squad giveaway. Those are coming. Don't wait. Or wait. But I'm just saying. Because I got to take care of the Mod Squad here. Quickly, and we'll move on back to other 49er topics. Again, also too, drop your questions in the chat. This is where you have a fantastic opportunity to take us down a rabbit hole that I did not anticipate to go. So if you have questions, you have players that you like for the team, free agents, draft prospects, whatever, drop it in the chat and we'll start talking about whatever at this point. Yeah, I gotta take care of the Mod Squad. Shout out to Mod Squad, bro. Mod Squad, really got to see them work this week. Really got to see the Mod Squad put in the work this week, and very proud. Very proud of the Sourdough Squad. Very proud of the Mod Squad. It's beautiful. It is beautiful to watch. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. So again, stay tuned. Stay tuned. JC, are you a mod? I missed out on, so I might have to go back again. Mod, you can earn modship. It is a very high honor. It is a very, very high honor to be a mod. I need to go back and look, make sure I got everyone. I think I might have missed a couple people, but I'll have to go back and look. But you can earn being a mod. You can earn being a mod. Oh, JC, my day two got to earn it. Shout out my day twos and my day ones. Huge Mod Squad guy. All right, let's get into it. Tua is trash. So quietly, is this a? Oh, it is right here. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. Okay, cool, perfect, great. I love this. Who's going to replace Mike McDaniel for our franchise? It does feel like the replacement was already made, at least from the sense of Anthony Lynn. You know, the way I feel, it does feel like Anthony Lynn is that guy. Because again, when you look at the experience, one of the main things that Mike McDaniel did for the San Francisco 49ers was he was the run game savant. Like, and again, you guys know I study the run game. I'm not big on coverage. You know, I understand it from a baseline situation, but you know, there are guys, they know route concepts, they know the names of like that's just not my specialty. I gain my expertise from the trenches. So blocking concepts, blocking schemes, all that kind of stuff. That's my world. So that's what McDaniels did. He was that guy. He was like, when I'm watching the 49ers offense and I'm watching them weeks 1 through 4 not be able to do anything and then go through this transition period and watching the offense change, start to pull Brunskill more, start to run these Zorro concepts more. That's Mike McDaniel. That's him. Now, I think Kyle calls the plays, but I think he relies on his guys to install, put in the groundwork, do all the things, and then Kyle just gets this smorgasbord and he organizes it and calls the plays as he see fit based on situation. So Mike McDaniel is going to be a huge hole, but with Anthony Lynn coming into the mix, Anthony Lynn is a former running back. He's been a running back coach. A lot of the stops that he's been, always been an offensive coach, offensive coordinator, um, to head coach. Always had a tie to the running backs. So, in that same light, that would have you believe that he would also be a part of the run game coordination. So, as a result, I think it's going to be Anthony Lynn. I think Anthony Lynn will take over. I imagine they're going to still have to replace wide receiver coach, right? Still got to replace wide receiver coach. You got two offensive lineman assistants to replace. Um, Technically, I don't know if they're going to fill the OC or not. I would imagine assistant head coach is maybe a higher ranking than OC. I don't know how it works internally, but it does feel like Anthony Lynn will be taking over that role. But there are still some things that need to be done. There are still some things that need to be done. But also Tua is trash. Take care of our man. Take care of McDaniel. I'm not going to say it definitively, even though it felt like that. Felt like at one point I was the only one who had Mike McDaniel back, at least in the YouTube chats on his press conferences. Man, people are going after that dude's neck. You never heard me once say a bad thing about Mike McDaniel. If anything, I would just talk him up constantly because I was watching his work. I was watching his work day in or week in, week out. So, you guys got a good one. You guys got a good one. Please take care of him. Please take care of him. Take care of him. Please take care of him. Wow. Speaking of Miami and Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins are expected to hire Darrell Bevell as passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach of Miami. Wow. There you go. Darrell Bevell, if you guys are familiar with, he's been up in Seattle for quite some time running their offense. So, hey, right on time. Right on time. Perfect timing of the Mike McDaniel's conversation. They added another coach. That's a coach that's coming out of the NFC West and is going over there. All right, let me get to Gabe's question here or comment. Gabe says, I know most fans want cornerback this offseason, but I want a speed edge to play opposite of Bosa. I believe he could break the sack record if we could free him up. Oh, my dog's preaching right here. My dog is preaching. You guys know I've been after edge since last year. Like, I wanted edge last year. Didn't get my edge last year. Spent all year quietly saying, I told you so. Should have got edge. So yes, you're speaking my language, Gabe. I've already got my prospect lined up that I want. I'm already tweeting at John Lynch to go get it done. I found the guy that I want. Absolute speed specialist in every sense of the word. I want D'Angelo Malone out of Western Kentucky. Yes, is he light in the pants? He is, but you can play ball or you can't, and you can always gain weight. I'm not worried about weight. You can add weight. You can't add talent. And I think that's the biggest thing that when people, I love it when I bring up a prospect and the first thing that they say is, "Oh, he's too small, he's too light." I'm like, guys, do you see his frame? Could you foresee a frame like that being able to add an additional 10 to 15 pounds? Yeah, he's 21. He will be able to get bigger and add more muscle mass as he continues to grow and mature. So people tell me all the time, "Oh, you're too small." Like, God damn. You can either play or you can't. You can either play or you can't play. And I got my guy that I want. I got my guy that I want. Give me D'Angelo every dang day of the week. My goodness, that man is deadly. And for that exact reason, it's a pure speed rush. Pure speed rush. One of the reasons there are metrics that support this. With D Ford on the field in 2019, the 49ers defense was otherworldly. And one of the reasons why, and I always point to it, is because D Ford was so fast and so quick off the edge. When quarterbacks are throwing the ball in an average of 2.5 seconds, and D Ford is getting quarterbacks moved off their spot in basically a second and a half, that is impactful. That is hugely impactful. And then when you have guys like Eric Armstead and you have Nick Bosa coming from the other side, you create this environment of havoc with four people. And that's why the San Francisco 49ers were successful in 2014. So I want a guy. I don't need a 3-down guy. I don't need an Eric Armstead. I don't need a guy who can play base downs and third down. I want a guy who can only play third down. Like literally. Like if I have to lose a second and third down contributor because I'm solely focused on third down, the money down in the NFL, where every team on 3rd and 3 and longer is probably going to throw it. I want speed. Speed, and more speed. I can live with the guy not playing on first and second downs in base situations. Because if you look at our defensive line, look at Chris Korsek. How does Chris Korsek get success out of his defensive lineman? He has a fresh rotation like clockwork. Just new guy. Shift guy inside, shift guy outside. New guy, new formation, new group. Like he's throwing turbo, he's throwing rhino, he's throwing gargantua, like whatever name you want to call it. He's throwing waves at you. So if you can take me and get me a guy who all he does is go straight and chase the pass rusher, and he can get there quicker than Nick Bosa, whoo! I'm just saying. If you can get me a guy who can get to the passer before Nick Bosa, oh, we're cooking. We are cooking. And then imagine what the defense can do. Because again, 2.5 seconds. People, I think, have this notion that quarterbacks should have all this time in the world. The average time taken to hike the ball and get it out is 2.5 seconds. That's not a long time. So if you can cut that down and get pressure in less than 2.5 seconds, there's a strong likelihood that you are going to make a mess of the opposing team's plans. And then guess what? Your linebackers look better. Your secondary looks better. Your defense, like everyone looks better when you can get to the quarterback and you can affect their spot. And that's it. Name of the game. Move the quarterback off the spot. Don't even have to get the sack production. Just move him. We saw it with Matthew Stafford. You get Matthew Stafford moving around. You get Derek Carr moving around. You get Brady moving around. You get Rodgers moving around. They're not the same. They're not the same. So get me speed, get me edge, and go after that dang quarterback. So I'm with Gabe 100%. Hell yeah, you got me hyped up, Gabe. I don't know, I'm just hyped because that's what I want. And I've wanted it. I've wanted it since D4 got hurt because we had it. I think for me, we had it. We saw it. Like it was there. It was there. We had it. And we saw the success that came from it. And I want it again. And I don't think we're gonna be getting that from D Ford anytime soon. So it is what it is. Let's see. I know big popular topic is the cornerback position. And I see the mods shepherding us in the right direction. Chat talking about secondary. How about re-signing Verrett? Great segue, Jason. Great segue. See, mods undefeated, man. You can affect the mods can affect the chat in so many more ways than just kicking trolls out. I would love Jason Verrett to return. Again, now big asterisk, right, with Jason Verrett. Actually, let's get the chat polled here. Let's get the chat polled. Then, while we are getting answers in, I will go on my long-winded tangent about Jason Verrett and or the moves that need to potentially be made opposite of Jason Verrett. So, let me set the stage for the chat. Smash that like button if you haven't already, by the way. But let me set the stage for the chat. Now, we aren't signing or proposing that the 49ers go out and sign Jason Verrett to a 3-year, whatever, $20 million, whatever number. He signed for a 1-year, $5.5 million deal last year. So again, coming off a full 16-game season where he was one of the best cornerbacks in the league statistically, signed him for a 1-year, 5.5. Now, same cornerback, a year older, got hurt week 1. He's probably going to sign for less. So I'm going to say 1 year, $2 million. Like that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about Jason Verrett, like sign him like if he got 1 year, 5.5 after a full 16 games, he's not getting more than 1 year, 5.5. So 1 year, $2 million. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like 1 year, 2.5, something like that. Like almost veteran minimum. So Jason Verrett returns potentially at that. If that is the instance, would you bring him back under that context? Under the context of it's a 1 year veteran, prove it. That's it. 1 year veteran, prove it. And again, huge ceiling and huge floor. Ceiling could be one of the better cornerbacks in the league. Ceiling, he doesn't even play. Or I'm sorry, floor. He doesn't play. So it's a pretty big gap. But if that is the gap, the risk reward for a $2 million player to potentially be one of the best at his position, if available, but understanding he might not be available. I don't know. To me, I'm for it. I would love it. I would love it. If you could get Jason Verrett on a effective deal. And again, he does come back and he does play and he is able to contribute. That's a win. And again, if he doesn't contribute on a 1 year, $2 million, is it even a big deal? I don't think so. So clearly, I think the stipulation, though, Barron saying yes, 1 year prove it deal, do it. Jason saying no question. Let's see. What else? We got Sean saying love him on a 1-year deal. Sir Juju saying Jason's 100, 1-year vet pay. Yes on Verrett. Yes on Verrett. There must be conditions only on a vet minimum. And again, you can do the same kind of incentivizer that we talked about with Raheem Mostert. You build in stipulation that would increase his pay based on hitting milestones, whether that's games played, snaps played. You can make it beneficial for both sides. So you can get him on the low and then have him, if he's hitting his goals, then he's getting paid. He could potentially get, you could do it in a situation where, like, we'll give you $200,000 game check if you are available and play the entire game. And so that's a lot of money if you add it up. And so it doesn't necessarily hit the cap right away because it's an incentive. You actually have to do it to hit it. So maybe. Justin says, love re-signing Verrett. Wouldn't be pricey, high-end production. Talia says, I say sign him on a prove-it deal. 1 year prove-it deal. Backwood says no, though. He says no, emphatically. Verrett is a liability. No. So you get it on both sides. Oh my goodness. How much free time? Like, how much free time? This is an ESPN, man. How much free time my boy got? How much free time he got? What's up, man? My goodness. We're gonna head on right over after this. We're gonna, once we get off the stream, all 200 some odd people, we're headed straight to ESPN Sports for more content right away. We're going to go hear about, and then we're going to go hear about how the 49ers should trade both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance at the same time and then have no quarterbacks. We're going to do that on our way right after this. Aloha Smitty says, yes, sign him, add some incentive clause so you can make more if he plays more and plays well. 100%. 100%. But now let me ask the chat another question. If you sign Jason Verrett to said deal, would you still want to sign a free agent cornerback and or draft a cornerback? Now let's see where we get going with this, because when I did the poll not too long ago, I think on YouTube, my YouTube poll was heavily in favor of selecting JC Jackson, or signing JC Jackson or Stephon Gilmore. I think, as we've talked about, we've looked at the landscape, we've looked at how the money breaks out. It's probably not a realistic outcome to sign him, one of those two players, to said deals. But hey, the people want it. Do you think that happens? And do they trade for another guy? Because then this is what the cornerback situation looks like going into 2021. It's Jason Verrett. It's Ambry Thomas, Emmanuel Mosley, and Deommodore Lenoir. Is that? I would imagine they would want some more. Fans would want more to the room than just that. So again, this is how it broke out on the poll. Clearly, we got 40,000 votes on the poll. Poll is clearly in favor for one of the high-end players in JC Jackson and or Stephon Gilmore. You have the projected contract totals listed. I think we understand that these amounts, you know, barring some wild cap situation going on other than Jimmy Garoppolo, might not fit with what the 49ers are trying to do. But, do they still maybe try to target a DJ Reed who's kind of a mid-level? Or do they just look to the draft? How would the 49ers go and address the cornerback position if you bring back Jason Verrett? Because again, we can on one hand say Jason Verrett coming back is a great sign on a 1-year vet min prove it deal, however you want to explain it. But on the opposite side, he's still a major liability in regards to availability. So you can't go in with Jason Verrett at that cost that you get him as, thinking he will be able to play all 17 games and a long playoff run. So therefore, you have to pretend almost, right, in a sense. Let's say we get the deal done. The deal is done. Jason Verrett signs 1 year, $2.3 million deal. Now you kind of got to go move and build out the roster like you didn't do that. Because again, Emmanuel Mosley, Ambry Thomas, Diamador Lenore, although they are very solid, I think Emmanuel Mosley's starting caliber, but again, availability issues popped up last year. Ambry Thomas still very young and has a lot of growing to do. Diamador Lenore, bit of a question. So who else? Who else do we get? Who else? I see lots of Xavier Howards. Ooh, Mike McDaniel, hook us up. Was good, Zachary. Is Mike McDaniel going to hook us up? Hey, McDaniel, my boy. Give us that there, Xavier Howard. We'll see. Trey Sermon, straight up. Who says no? McDaniel says no. But yeah, basically what I'm getting in the chat is Xavier Howard, Dolphins. I'm getting not a Sherm. Chad still wants JC Jackson, but that $56 million when you got to pay Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa, that's something that we have to remember is we have to pay the guys in-house. And two of them are going to be Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa, who will probably be the highest paid at their positions. So again, factor that into what we talk about when who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? Tanya says definitely try to get DJ Reed back, but also try to draft one. I like that strategy personally. Darth Yogurt, fire name, says we need bodies at cornerback, so we are not signing off the street. I agree with that in a sense. We need bodies. Clearly, depth with the defensive back room, cornerback, and safety was an issue. Was an issue in training camp. Let's see. Cole says yes, draft a cornerback and sign Verrett. We are injury prone. We need depth. By end of season 3 of them will be in IR with our luck. Yeah, we need depth. And that's what we're talking about. We need depth. Could it be in the draft? Again, 49ers move up to potentially pick 11 by trading Jimmy Garoppolo to the Washington Commanders. I hate their name, but trade them to the Washington Commanders. You get the 11th overall pick. Take Kyer Elam at number 11. Hey, there you go. I'm not going to lie. I had some fun. I did a lot of mocks last night where I was trading to 11 and then trading back. And really liking the results of the mocks that I was doing. I like if the 49ers could get into that top echelon, and even trade back like 5 spots, and the amount of draft capital that they could amass and then literally move wherever they want in the second round, wherever they want in the third round, and just go crazy. I was having a blast with it. I built out a sick team of rookies. Doing that. It was a lot of fun. Too much money. We got DJ Reed, Levi Wallace as a potential target. Raymond says, I'd like to get DJ Reed and going after a premier pass rusher on the opposite side of Bosa. I love the thoughts of getting DJ Reed. Again, I'm already tagging him on Instagram. He's DMing me back. I used to me and Reed used to talk quite a bit when he was on the 49ers. So it's not like we have a relationship, but we are friendly with one another. And so I actually tagged him on an Instagram story with and I put the song was Trey Songz Missing You. And we had a fun little back and forth about that. But I'm working up to ask him, hey, are the 49ers a real target? Like, can we actually get you? Like, is there a potential that we can get you? I'm waiting. I'm biding my time, but I'm going to ask DJ Reed here in the next week or so if that is a potential. Straight up, I'm just going to ask him. I was like, "Hey, would you be back? Would you come back to us?" I'm going to see what he says. I can't wait. Hopefully he tells me. But I don't know. We're going to find out. We are going to find out. But yeah, lots, and clearly does feel like we keep coming back to the cornerback position quite a bit. Does feel like we're coming back to the cornerback position quite a bit. And could be something that is a big point of emphasis from here on out. Man, it's crazy how fast time flies by. I can't believe it's already been over an hour. I told myself only going to talk for about an hour 15. I'm almost there. And if you get me talking about O-line, I could talk even longer. My goodness. What specifically would you guys like to talk about offensive line? I guess I'll set the stage with the offensive line situation, and we can kind of go from there. Clearly, one of the things that we are monitoring specifically is Laken Tomlinson. What his contract extension potentially could look like if there is one. I don't know. It definitely feels like a situation that doesn't feel like a foregone conclusion. It doesn't feel like, the 49ers are absolutely going to be re-signing Laken Tomlinson. And I would go on to say further that the moves that they made last year, drafting Aaron Banks, drafting Jalen Moore, kind of were in preparation of them understanding that Laken, they're probably not going to re-sign Laken. And I think Laken actually making the Pro Bowl as an alternate hurts his case to return, because I think it raises his overall value on the market. And so they're not going to want to give Laken the bag. They're just not. So if that's what he's looking for, I could see him getting that somewhere else. And I don't fault him in the slightest if that is what he chose to do. This is going to be Laken's, I think, real first opportunity at getting a bag since he was drafted out of Duke. So he's got to get it. Like, he has to get it. So I don't know if the 49ers are going to give it to him. I kind of feel like they're not. So what that means is we have to figure out what's going down with this man, Aaron Banks. Well, I've been loving today on Twitter. Shout out Jordan Elliott. I think Jordan Elliott and I have combined with getting the timeline talking about offensive linemen today. Jordan started it, and I hopped on the bandwagon, but we got the timeline moving on offensive linemen today. Big point of emphasis was Aaron Banks. Big point of emphasis was, the Laken Tomlinson situation. If you haven't, go do it. Jordan wrote a great article on Laken Tomlinson, really kind of painting the full picture on why he might not be returning to the 49ers. He did a really good job of breaking it all down. Go check that out if you get a chance. But that then shifts the conversation over to Aaron Banks. So this is the thing. Aaron Banks is a bit of an unknown. Because I can tell you, I watched Aaron Banks. He was a priority for me in training camp last year because coming in to the situation, and to be honest, I think this is a priority amongst the fan base. I don't know internally that they're keeping that same energy. I don't think Laken actually is indeed a priority to the 49ers front office for the value purposes. Again, just how much money he's going to get and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if Laken is a number one priority to this organization. I get he's a fan favorite. He's one of my favorites. Again, victory donuts don't exist without Laken Tomlinson, and quietly behind the scenes, shout out my boy. Don't exist without those guys. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. So that means then Aaron Banks. What is Aaron Banks going to do? Is he just going to come fill in? Do we feel comfortable with Aaron Banks? Do we see that happening? We've heard a lot of this kind of conversation. Put Moore and Banks at starting guards. Put Brunskill into swing tackle. I mean, I will tell you right away that likely won't occur. There's no way Banks and or Jalen Moore will beat out Brunskill for a starting position. It's not going to happen. But at least for a guard spot, it's not going to happen. But there's a world exists that potentially Alex Mack retires. Maybe they take Daniel Brunskill, kick Daniel Brunskill down to center. I don't know. There's a lot of questions on this offensive line. But again, one of the biggest reasons why I think Brunskill stays is because he's a restricted free agent. The 49ers own his rights for the most part, and they will be able to kind of control essentially what he gets at a pretty solid value. So again, Brunskill, I would imagine, probably sticks around with the RFA. So unless some team hits him with the contract where the 49ers go like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. You can have Brunskill for that contract. We'll take the draft pick, because that's what could happen. The 49ers could hit, I believe, from my understanding, they will be able to tender Brunskill at a certain draft pick. And if a team is to come in and sign him away, 49ers are awarded said draft pick. So that will be something that we'll continue to monitor. But I think this was already made clear in the exit interviews. Trent spoke specifically to this. And again, when someone is speaking, like if you're on social media, you know what sub posting is, you know what sub tweeting is. When you're talking to someone but indirectly, like you're not speaking to them, you're not adding them, but you're speaking to them. And if they were to come across it, they'd be like, yeah, this son of a gun is absolutely talking about me. Um, Trent Williams gave a very pointed conversation about Trent Williams on his exit interview publicly about how he is very adamant about getting um, Lakin back. And then you compound that with Lakin talking, feel like it felt like he was like he knew this was probably the last time I'm speaking to the media. Like that's what Lakin Tomlinson's uh, what his press conference felt like. Um, it really did. And so I'm kind of gearing up for that. I don't know. I think they're going to let him test the market. And if and when he does, like I said, he was going to get more money from someone else. He's going to get more money from someone else. And I think it's going to happen. So the 49ers need to potentially worry about replacing him. Got to figure out what's going on with Alex Mack. Let me really quickly. I chatted it up with McGlinchey just for a little bit. He did say I said something to him. Like the only thing that like I'll really share was like, yeah, man, excited to get you back next season. And he said, gonna be back better than ever. So again, nothing crazy there, but based on how Mike is talking about how he will be back and plans to be back and plans to be back better than ever. Now, we understand players speak, coach speak. What else is he going to say? Like, oh, no, I'm not going to be back. Like, so it is what it is. But I imagine Mike will be back. I imagine Brunskill will be back. And we really kind of got to figure out what's going on with Lakin. Lakin's most likely to walk. Alex is just a question mark. We don't know. I hope he comes back. But theoretically, say he does come back, we're really only having to worry about replacing one position. And that one position, we drafted a guy in the second round and could theoretically step right in. So that's going to be a big development. It's going to be a big, big development. So I'm excited to see what happens. But we'll see. Yeah, we could talk about let's end on linebackers. What specifically do we want to chat about with linebackers? Based on the contractual side of things, clearly Fred Warner is under contract. Dre Greenlaw is under contract. Azeez Al-Shaair is also a restricted free agent, so he's got the same tag as Daniel Brunskill. And Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is a exclusive rights free agent. So it does appear that our linebackers should be back. It does seem like the 49ers will get Azeez, Dre, and DFF back into the mix. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting to see how they play that. James says, could you see Greenlaw being under the radar trade? Yeah, 100%. I could. I think the biggest thing, though, that kind of hurts Dre and his value is just availability, right? He really didn't play that much last year. So I don't know, I don't know what a team will think of that. I don't know how they'll value that. I don't know at one point if it would make sense just to keep Dre Greenlaw at that point. considering I believe he was a 5th-round draft pick, right? Um, are you going to get a 5th-rounder for him in return? I don't know. It depends. I would only be willing to trade Dre Greenlaw um, if I could get more than like a 4th-round pick in return for him. I would want to make sure I got value on the selection. If I can't get more than a 4th-round pick and or a starting caliber player in return, then I'm personally not making that trade. But I would be open to listening. I would be open to uh, hearing offers. I just don't know how far it goes. But I think on the flip side of that, if there is no deal that's done and you have Aziz, Fred, Dre, and DFF in the wings and Marcel Harris even, um, I think that's a fire ass group of linebackers. That is a fire ass group of linebackers. So now they become, and we saw both, and that's part of the thing too, is that there are questions, there are questions about health with both Dre and Aziz. You know what I mean? So like there's a lot of questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we trade Dre, right? It worked out beautifully for us last year because when Dre was hurt, Aziz was balling. When Aziz went down, Dre came up, and it was like they spelled each other. So it was like Fred, and then when Fred went down, it was Aziz. Like it was this crazy, like we had I think Marcel Harris have to start one game. We had Marcel Harris have to start one game. And other than that, it was a rotation of those three: Greenlaw, Aziz, and Fred. So trading could be something, but I'd want to be sure that if we are trading the kid and he does get moved, there's a value for it. I just don't want to trade him for no reason. If that makes sense. I just don't want to trade him for no reason. Let me get to some of these super chats that I realized I missed. Smash that like button if you haven't already. When it comes to the cap, is it already showing how much we have after it goes up? Because if not, I still think we can add. So this is what I got on cap, Gabe. Again, you can go to spotrac.com. It's probably the best resource for understanding potential contracts, 49er salary cap in 2022, all that kind of stuff. But what I got right here in front of me is that with the raise in cap space, how it jumped with the adjusted salary cap at 209 million. The 49ers estimated cap space currently is a little bit under 3 million. So it's not a lot. And that's with the adjustment. And that's with the adjustment. Let's see. So that again, it makes it a little. When Jimmy gets moved, that's going to clear up like 25 million in cap space. So that's going to be, I think, the wiggle room that we get is from trading Jimmy. Other than that, we seem pretty strapped because a big thing is Eric Armstead's cap hit is 20 million this year. When Jimmy Garoppolo's traded, Eric Armstead will have the highest cap hit on the entire team, and that's by $4 million. Eric Armstead will have the highest cap hit by $4 million once Jimmy Garoppolo is moved. That's a lot of money. I'm glad Eric had a good year. I'm really glad Eric had a good year because if he didn't, Oh my goodness. They would be at his neck for how much money he's getting paid. Jay Greasy said, I would love to sign one of those guys on your poll. Glad to see you doing your off-season thing. Had to come and check in on y'all. Hashtag SDS, hashtag late night gang. We see you crazy. Also, if I've missed your super chat, I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to like recap on super chats I missed. I missed like 5 super chats, so I apologize. I don't know how I do. I know how I do. The squirrel man gets talking about one subject and blocks everything else out. And then I miss everything. Dustin the Gale says, sorry, one last question about the offensive line. Do you think Tom Compton is a liability? I think this is a great question. I think this is a great question with tons of nuance that I've thought about and stewed on and watched him quite a bit this year. So I feel very qualified to be able to answer this. And the answer is no. I don't think Tom Compton is a liability when the 49ers offense is working. The only time Tom Compton becomes a liability is when the offense isn't working. And what I'm trying to say is this is a run first team. They are built on running the football, and they're built on running it a very specific way. These are zone blockers. These are guys that need to be able to move, have to have good feet, have to have good technique, have to be able to get to second level. It's a prerequisite to get to second level, which means you have to be able to move. So Tom Compton, in that regard, surprised the hell out of me this year. He was one of the highest graded. He was the highest graded right tackle on the back end of last year for a reason. He was playing that well. But again, when this team is forced into situation that doesn't fit their strength, just like any other team, they suffer. And so where a lot of people point to, let's say, Brunskill, it's the same conversation with Brunskill. Brunskill is least suited to be in a drop back passing offense with a 5 to 7 step drop passing attack where he is one-on-one in pass protection. That's not his strength. I'm sure he will tell you that it's not his strength. But that's great because that's not what the 49ers offense does. That's not their strength either. They are built to move the ball in a very specific way. They are built to essentially be used as the passing game is a variation of the run game. It is play action and or it's short, quick, intermediate throws where you can execute run action and or specific technique for pass blocking that doesn't require the standard, pass set where you can actually attack and make it look like you're run set, but in fact you're just pass blocking, but you're more attacking than being passive in the pass set. So when they're in their bag, when the 49ers are in their bag, they're running the football, play action, they are quick passing game. And when they allow themselves to work freely in and out of a drop passing game, he's not a liability. He really isn't. Like where Tom Compton becomes a liability is when it's like everyone in the world knows it's a passing down. It's there. The 49ers have to get 7 yards. They have to get 8, 9 yards. There's a concerted effort to move the ball, and then they overload and or just bring the pressure. That is where he becomes a liability. And people need to understand that's not every play. Every play isn't like that. Every play isn't like the last drive of the Rams game where you desperately have to move the ball downfield in a passing situation that is completely away from what you are built and designed to do. So as a result, I think Tom Compton played a lot, like really well, really, really, really well. However, it's when you get into the straight drop back passing situations in which they know that it is a pass. And as a result, they know, hey, I'm going to throw my best pass rush move at Tom Compton, and Tom Compton's going to have a hard time blocking me. So context matters across the offensive line. It matters. That's why there's power schemes. That's why there's zone schemes. And that's why each set of scheme has a particular archetype that comes to offensive line body type or skill set. Compton is a great zone run blocker. One of the better ones that I've seen quite some time in the way he came into it. But we understand that Tom Compton, as a pass blocker, he did get better. So I'm going to give him that respect. He did get better. But it is still not his strong. It's not a strong suit. So if the 49ers are playing their game and doing what they want to do, it's not an issue. It's really not an issue. It's when it becomes like we have to play from behind. We got to unload. We're going 4 wide, and that's when the issues start to show up. Other than that, he's actually pretty damn good. Let's see. Did I get all of them? Did I get everyone's super chat? I think I see Jason's. I see Jason's. I just want to make sure I got everyone else. I just want to make sure I got everyone else. I think so. I think I got everyone else. But man, let me tell you, I'm really excited. Yeah, okay, here's the last one. Thank you. I'm Chase Mama asking about the merch. What's the word? I was actually just thinking about that. I got to get to stepping. I'm lagging a little bit. I think Super Chat takes any currency. I would be surprised if YouTube's like, you know what, your money's no good here. I think they take I think they pretty much take anything. But yes, I do want to get the SDS merch. It's definitely close to becoming a reality. So stay tuned. I actually was thinking too, like I might need to make a Mod Squad shirt, and again as my thank you to the squad. If you're in the Mod Squad, you might get your own Mod Squad shirt. I'm thinking about it. I haven't done it. It's not executed. It's still in the thought bubble. Takes some time to get the thought bubble to actual execution, but it's something I'm thinking about. Dustin the Gale says, could we see a situation next year where Trey Lance pass blocking is needed more often? And if so, does that change your view on Compton? This was a great question. So I don't know what Kyle thinks. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna admit it. I don't know what Kyle thinks. I don't know what Kyle's vibe is. Because I've seen Trey Lance and Kyle Shanahan's scheme for 4 quarters against the Texans, 4 quarters against the Arizona Cardinals, and 2 quarters against the Seahawks. Out of those 10 quarters, only 2 of those quarters looked like the actual 49ers offense, regardless of who was at quarterback. And the 2 quarters that actually looked like 49ers football was the best Trey Lance looked in the system. So again, you go back to Trey Lance at North Dakota State. Why did it seem like such a natural fit? Trey Lance was under center, running play action boot. It's like it looked like a very seamless transition. So if Kyle was like, hey, we're going to run the same scheme, it wouldn't be much of an issue. But again, I don't know what Kyle is going to do. I don't know what a scheme's going to look like. I don't know how much it's going to change. I don't know what his thoughts are. Because again, what we started to see is we started to see more power concepts. And he was running with Mike. He was running it with Kittle. He was running with our guys. It's much different. It's just much different than what we do as a zone blocking scheme. And it requires way less. That's the thing with the power scheme. The power scheme puts all the emphasis on the O-line and not a lot on the running back. Whereas when you flip it, the zone puts a lot of emphasis on the running back and less on the O-lineman, because the O-lineman has to block his spot, block it on his track. He's not blocking a gap where if he moves either way, the gap, all hell breaks loose. Like where zone's fluid. You're moving, you're passing off, you're very fluid in a zone, which makes smaller guys a lot easier to work within the scheme. So if he's going to do more power concepts, then, or if he wants to do more of a spread style scheme, more drop back passing, he's got a lot of retooling to do. If he wants to pass the ball more and they want to do more 5 to 7 step drops, Compton probably isn't the best for that. Because that's where Compton struggles the most. A big part of knowing your personnel is knowing what they're good at and what they're not good at. And I can tell you that team, hell, even Lakin, even Mac, they aren't going to be your best drop back passing offensive lineman. Trent is an outlier. Trent's a unicorn, so we don't talk about Trent. But all of those guys, they all fit doing the zone run scheme. Lakin, Mack, Brunskill, Compton, McGlinchey aren't drop back passing offensive linemen. They're not. So that's why it's important to, when you start seeing offensive linemen struggling when they're getting out of what they're comfortable and try to do all the time, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, oh, they're not doing a good job because they're trying to do something that they're not good at doing. They're not comfortable at that. I think misconception amongst a lot of fans is that offensive linemen should be automatically good at run blocking and automatically good at pass blocking. That's not how it always is. And pass blocking is very difficult. Very, very difficult. So I would say it would make more sense to just stick with your current offense or stick with the variation of the offense. Continue to run the football, play action. I think one of the things that we saw is Trey Lance is good at play action. I think my favorite play of Trey Lance last year was off of play action, and it was because of his kind of not advanced, but he's worked out of that before. If you guys remember, I think it was against the Texans. It was when he had that play action boot. He had a defender right in his face. He had Kittle in the flat. He had Kittle open in the flat. He did the little pump fake, got the guy airborne. Once the guy went airborne, he sidearmed it underneath him to Trent Sherfield on a dime. Like you only do that if you've been in that situation before, when you've turned your back to a defense and you turn around and you got a defender in your face, you only know to pump fake if you've done that before. Again, that's what he did in college, what he did at NDSU. He has experience being under center, play action, naked boots, defenders in his face. He's been there. That's why he was able to manage that situation. When you put him in a spread scheme and you put him in a situation where he's just like, he's done power schemes before, so I'm not going to pretend like he can't do a power run. But if you decide you want to spread everything out with Trey and you want to run a Cliff Kingsbury offense, you're doing the kid probably a disservice, and you're likely doing the rest of your team a disservice. So I don't think that's the best avenue to go. So again, back to what Trey, the offense should look like. I don't think they should change much of it at all, other than adding in the zone read element, more RPOs, and I can live with power run concepts from the quarterback position. I just want them to be used sporadically. That's about it. Good questions today, though. Good questions today. I think I got everyone. Again, I was like, I'm going to talk for hour 15. I'm trying to get better with timing. Like, easy. No, not easy. Not easy. I'll try to answer this quickly. What position do you think we need for drafting, like example, like linebacker or safety? I think key positions that I'd like the 49ers to go after in the draft are edge. I'd like to see them address edge, depth at defensive back, and or potential starting safety in the draft. Again, they do, I believe, have Tarvarius Moore waiting in the wings. But yeah, I would say prime positions I'm looking for. I want the edge, safety, cornerback. I could do another cornerback. I'm not dying like everyone else is for like this impact cornerback. Because I do have a lot of faith in Emmanuel Mosley. He's going to be starting one, and Ambry Thomas has proven to be serviceable. So, and if they do bring back Jason Verrett, do they need to draft a cornerback potentially round 1, round 2? I don't know. We'll see. But I do like E-Man. I do like Ambry. So, and if you are bringing back Jason, you add a DJ Reed to the mix, then I feel pretty good about that. But depth is huge. They need to get depth. They have to get depth. Have to. So I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited to see what they do, and these targets are going to continue to move. What's cool is that we're going to have all these conversations about who they should draft, all that kind of stuff. But once free agency starts, it's going to refresh. We are going to know who they signed. We're going to know the moves that they made, who they didn't resign. And then we're going to have basically a restart to draft season based on now what we are determining to be the needs for the 49ers. So we're still in that first stage where we're in the conceptualization stage of the offseason, where we're just talking about everything and anything. And pretty much anything goes at this point. So if you have a crazy idea or you have a thought process that you want to share it, because that's what this time is for. We start to get more honed in and specific once we start to see the moves that are made. Again, right now, we don't know. they could go so many different directions based on free agents, who they're going to resign, who they're not going to resign, and that affects clearly who they sign. And there's tons of domino effects that occur. So we're gonna see, man. We are going to see. I agree with no K1 potentially coming back. I mean, the 49ers might be more focused internally on finding a viable slot corner than they are at finding a viable outside corner. And I know a lot of the fan base is hyped on outside corner, but they might be more concerned about finding that guy that can play over the slot. And that's why I think DJ Reed is so appealing, is because he can play in the slot, but he also proved he can be an outside corner. And I think that's why DJ Reed, and plus he has familiarity with the organization. I think that would be intriguing. But yeah, man, I'm excited. Again, tried to get to an hour 15. I tried to. You know what? We are going to save my thoughts on Xavier Howard for tomorrow. We are going to save my thoughts on Xavier Howard, pretty much everything else for tomorrow. Drip's out here. Drip Skylark, fire name, by the way. He's out here talking to 49er scouts. Be on the lookout. Oh yeah. I want to draft a center. I'm gonna be all over centers. I already have been. Yes. And this is regardless. This is regardless of Alex Mack returning or not returning. They need a center. Jake Brendel, I believe, is the backup. I believe he's going to be up for a contract. So they need a center. And you can find a guy in the 4th or 5th potentially that could absolutely be an eventual starter. 100%. But I appreciate you guys. Yep, I'm ending on a cliffhanger. Save your questions if you got them for tomorrow. I swear I'm gonna get better at this timing because I could stay and talk about this stuff for hours. I appreciate that, my brother. Appreciate the kind words as always. Yep. He's perfect target. Yep. Exactly who I have in mind. I've already taken Lindstrom in a couple in that exact spot. So 100%. And I've said this all the time. Like I'm emphatic about this as an offensive line guy. If you want interior, if you want a center or guard, you will be able to find a starting center or a guard like clockwork in every single draft between the 3rd and 5th round every year. Like, I know people get, and I do too, and we get sometimes like, ooh, I want this guy. But understanding the value of getting a starting caliber offensive lineman in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round is huge. And it's almost a guarantee if you grab the right person. And they're out there. They're out there every year. Every year. Examples. Quinn Miners last year. Not only Quinn, but you also had my guy from Illinois, Kendrick Green. You can find guys. So if that's how you're going to do it, you don't have to spend the high draft capital on a guard or a center if you don't want to, because you can always come back and you can find them in those middle rounds. Really is the sweet spot in my opinion. But yeah, Going to be a lot of offensive lineman talk, especially to if there are some moves going on or people not coming back. So that's going to be something that we figure out. And as you know, we'll probably have some crazy rumors to talk about tomorrow. So I'm excited. The off-season train continues. Shout out to Sourdough Squad, as always, keeping the vibes up in the chat. Immaculate as always. Appreciate you guys, man. We will be back tomorrow to do it again. We'll have plenty more to talk about, as always. We'll always find something to talk about. So until then, I appreciate you guys. You have a great rest of your night. Sourdough Squad, undefeated, per usual. Let's go. Appreciate the gang. I'll see you guys tomorrow.